coverage of the inaugural season of the Champions Racing League Truck Series. Tonight, the season kicks off under the lights from the virtual Texas Motor Speedway. My name is Alec Martinez, and I'm joining me in the booth tonight as my partner and producer, Eddie Smith. Eddie, we're in the Lone Star State. The track has cooled off significantly since practice and qualifying. The sun's starting to set. How are you expecting these drivers to tackle this racetrack?
Yeah, Texas Motor Speedway. It's in Fort Worth, Texas. And since the reconfiguration, man, it's going to be a wild and crazy race. That turn one is really wide, really crazy, and changed up quite a bit. It's going to change how these guys are going to drive. But these trucks are fast. They're going to be drafting. They're going to be working together, having to work with people. They're trying to battle for wins to get this thing done tonight. And I think tire wear going to be an issue. But 1.5 mile track, 75,000 people can be in attendance at Texas Motor Speedway. And, man, I think it's going to be a good one, Alec.
I think it is. We're going to our race information here for tonight's race here at Texas Motor Speedway, racing the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series trucks. Open setups, meaning that these guys can work on these cars to practice in the day. How will these guys be able to set up these trucks for the nighttime race? You get one fast repair, so if you get involved in one wreck, you get one chance to get it fixed up. And again, this league, no lucky dogs or green, white, checkered, so that means at the end of a race, official race distance, usually within 5 laps, if the caution comes out, the race will end under caution and behind the pace car, and the field will be frozen there for the finishing end of this race. So, man, I'm looking forward to broadcasting with the Eddie. It's our first time together, and for everybody tuning in, welcome. And thank you for joining us here on V-Speed 2 for Champion Motorsports Night. First race of 8 here at the Lone Star State Texas Motor Speedway. You get a nice shot of victory lane. Looking forward to this race. The trucks, we talk about trucks. Drafting is going to be big. The nighttime, the right time, draft's going to be even bigger and more of a thing. And we talk about dirty air, being able to adjust in your setups, Eddie. I mean, do you have any picks here? We'll get the starting grid here, but is there anybody that stands out to you from practice or qualifying?
You know, there's a couple drivers up at the top of the board right now. I mean, Doug Betts, Kyle Smith, all of those two drivers in the 8s and really close in times. You know, they've had about 2.5 hours to work on these setups. You know, open setups are always really weird. Fixed setup, you know, everybody's got the same thing. You're just working on the line, learning. But these guys have spent a little bit of time to work on their setup, make it better. So it's an interesting – you don't see open setups that often. So very interesting to see how this is going to play out. But honestly, even at these guys that are in the 8s, you know, we talk about open setups. You have to set up for qualifying. You have to, you know, put the tape on. You have to have, you know, tire pressures in different spots, almost completely different than the fixed setup. So, you know, it's really hard to say based on practice times because you don't know who's working on their long run setup and who is working on, you know, qualifying pace. So it's going to be interesting to see, I think, because it'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah, we talk about Texas Motor Speedway qualifying, very important. We know how hard it is to pass it. We've seen it in the real life NASCAR Racing Series where it's a struggle once tires start to age. The aerodynamics of these trucks, being behind somebody, it's going to be affecting your tires a lot more. Clean air is key, and Doug Betts is going to be rolling off with that clean air. As the track has transitioned, it is nighttime here, and we'll get to our starting grid for tonight's race. 100 laps. That meaning maybe about 150 miles. Doug Betts starts on the pole with a 29.855. To his outside will be Kyle Smith in the 55. Then starting in row number 2, Thomas Fisher. And to his outside will be Anthony James. Starting in the 5th position is Dennis Crosby. And to his outside, Jose Ramirez. And then starting at 7th, Scott Kennedy in the 03. And to his outside, Rodney Campbell in the 62. Then John Taylor Tammy will be rolling off in 9th, and Pierre Robitaille will be rolling off in the top 10.
Yeah, in 11th, we've got Tim Collier and David Anderson starting outside of him. Warren McGarry is going to start in the 13th position. Stephen C. Knight going to start in 14th. Miguel Colon going to start 15th. And Jacques Richard is going to start in 16th. Nailed it. 17th is John Martinowski, and 18th, Alex Menard.
That'll round out your field here. 18 trucks. Looks like maybe 17 will be taking the green flag here. Unfortunately, some guys were not able to make it here tonight, but as the gridding rolls, and we'll go over 100 laps on a 1.5-mile racetrack, where is that going to get you on fuel is the question. If I had to take a guess, probably around anywhere from 45 to 46 laps, so most likely a one-stop race. And then again, draft. if you get a good enough draft down the straightaway, can you save fuel being behind somebody, especially on these long straightaways, as this track is under the lights here in the Lone Star State? About another minute or so to go. Actually, no, the pace truck will start rolling here in about any time. But, man, trucks, I've personally never been able to broadcast the trucks. We know, obviously, on V-Speed right now, they've got the VRX series going on right now. So, again, appreciate everybody tuning in tonight here for the opening night of Champions Motorsports Friday Night Truck Series here. So looking forward to these guys putting on a show here tonight. Like I said, 18 trucks or 17 trucks will take the green flag, as I believe just about everybody has gridded. We talk about track position here. It's going to be key. Their opening race is what I've heard went green. So if this race does go green, how are you guys going to be able to attack that? How are guys going to be able to set up this long run? And what changes are you going to be able to make in that one green flag pit stop to make your truck better, to catch somebody? Or if not, keep that clean air. If you got clean air, you're Doug Betts, you got clean air in this race. How are you going to make that truck better? And if it gets in dirtier, how much is that going to affect the handling of your truck? That's something you always got to worry about. Now, I got to ask you, as we're rolling on to turns 1 and 2, who's your pick to win this race? Eddie.
Well, being this is the first race that we've broadcasted, it's hard to say. It's really sort of a dice roll. With 100 laps, Doug Betts starting on the pole, it's going to be hard not to pick him. But, I'm going to go back through the field, and I'm going to say somebody like Tim Collier, David Anderson. We might see those guys work themselves up through the field and maybe on a long run have some long green flag racing, get their trucks, dialed in on that pit stop. And we might see maybe a dark horse from the back of the field.
You never know. If I had to pick anybody, I like the speed I saw out of Thomas Fisher in that Chevy Silverado. Had a lot of good pace. He had really good pace. Seems like his laps were very consistent. I think that 92 truck might win opening night here, as the pace truck will come through turns 3 and 4 and will go off and make the hard left-hand turn to pit road. Doug Betts, Kyle Smith will lead the inaugural race of the Champion Motorsports Friday Night Truck Series. Green flag is out, and we're underway for the Texas Motor Speedway.
Yeah, great jump for everybody so far as they go barreling down into turn number 1. They didn't really know how the start was going to be, but so far so good.
Cold tires here off of turn number 2. Betts able to get the lead, but here comes Fisher all over that back bumper, that back tailgate. He'll close up. He'll look down to the inside. Goes the 92 of Thomas Fisher to the inside of Doug Betts, your pole sitter, who will lead off of turn number 4, still side by side, and right behind them, Kyle Smith waiting in the wings of the draft.
Wow, they are not wasting any time. Thomas Fisher, knowing that you got to get that clean air. That's going to be so important as these three start to break away just a little bit. You actually, Kyle Smith go way up the track. You don't want to do that. And they get back in line, though. But, man, it's Thomas Fisher early getting out front.
Yeah, like I said, had good pace in practice, and it looks like it's showing up in the race under the lights here at the Texas Motor Speedway, as Fisher now opens up to about a 0.2 of a second lead over Doug Betts. Right behind him is Kyle Smith in that 55 truck. He's looking up to the outside. Can't really do anything here. Not close enough, as Jose Ramirez up to 4th. Scott Kennedy up in 5th now. So far, everybody's single file all throughout the top 10.
Yeah, starting to see that draft play a bigger role as the top 5 start to close up just a little bit. So you see Jose Ramirez starting to catch up to these top 3. So that draft is a huge deal. Thomas Fisher knowing to get out front, is really important, because that clean air is going to matter, especially as they start to get 15 to 20 laps into this run. The tires are going to start to wear out, and that turn 1 is so difficult. That's why this track is sort of, it's dropped down my list of fun tracks, because that turn 1 is so important. You have to hit it. And in these trucks being so momentum driven, just keeping up the momentum the whole lap, and 3 and 4 being almost wide open, that when you go down in turn 1, you have to lift at the right time and get back on the gas as soon as possible to carry that momentum, because when you go down into turn 1 and you lift and you get back on the gas, that speed that you carry is going to carry you all the way around the track, all the way back into turn number 1. So it is so important that you keep that right front on it and take care of those tires. You see, Doug Betts slow
Doug
on the
Betts
bottom.
has an issue on the bottom. I don't know if he's serving a penalty or not, but I heard he may have got a penalty at the beginning of the race, beating the pole sitter, although he was the pole sitter. I'm not sure if he jumped the start or not, so he's going to bring it down to pit road. And I'll tell you who was the lucky advocate of that. How about Jose Ramirez in that 75? The Amazon Chevrolet Silverado closed up on Kyle Smith. I think he lifted a little bit to make sure he didn't run into Doug Betts, but that 75 truck seems to be on the move. Starting to have some good pace 6 laps into this race. Started in 4th. He's starting 6th here. And he's up 3 positions so far. Biggest move, we're inside the top 5. Scott Kennedy's kind of ran him down a little bit, and they're kind of towing along Dennis Crosby in the 22, and then Rodney Campbell, and then from there, it kind of gets spread out from 7th on back with JT Tammy and Pierre Robitaille.
Yeah, it looks like Doug Betts back on the track, so I'm not really sure what happened to him. It may have been a Code Brown situation there, Alex.
Alec, it was a drive-through penalty, it seemed.
Yeah, well, he actually jumped out of the car and then jumped back in. He's on the track now, so I don't really know what happened to him. And you said there may have been a penalty, but not real sure. So, but if we look on the picture-in-picture, you see, he's on track now, but 2 laps down at the moment. That's a tough break for the point for the pole sitter. It
is, and didn't even get to lead his lap. And like you said, a new addition to the V-Speed channel here. Look at that. Picture-in-picture. You get 2 drivers here on your pictures. We got Jose Ramirez on 1, and then Doug Betts, unfortunately, 2 laps down, has fallen back. And I'll tell you what, these top 3 closing up. Kyle Smith using that draft off of Thomas Fisher. He's closed that gap to about 0.2 of a second. He's starting to get some speed in that 55, maybe showing some long-run pace here.
Yeah. What's got me concerned is the off of turn 2 here. You really, because of how wide this track is, and we'll take a look at it as they come back around, but how wide the turn 1 is, you have to be careful that you come off the bottom here, especially in the trucks, because, at Talladega, it used to be, everybody would come down, get down the bottom line. As you come off the turn, you would go out to the wall, but it's just such a long distance from the apron down to the wall as the 55. Yeah, trying to make it work, but that high side, getting up high like that, can be tough on the tires. How long can he make it happen? But he goes down to the inside, going to look to the inside of Thomas Fisher for the lead.
Oh, he's going to get loose down there, but he's able to keep it into the throttle off of 1 and 2. But now these guys in the flat-out part of 3 and 4. What does this allow the 75 to do? And maybe the guys outside the top, from 4th on back to catch up side by side for the lead. Kyle Smith to the inside, and the Toyota Tundra goes to the lead. The 55 to the point. Fisher trying to cross him over, won't be able to. Ramirez stays about 2 car lengths back from the 92. Kyle Smith takes the lead halfway down the backstretch. He'll lead his first lap of the night. And then Thomas Fisher falls closely, top 3 under a blanket here in turns 3 and 4.
Yeah, made it look easy. Just drove down to the top side and got such a nice run. Was able to get down to the inside on sort of a crossover. That draft was just so impressive that he was able to get that run. And so don't know if Thomas maybe had got out front, pushed that right front a little bit too hard. But Kyle Smith looking good if he can maintain this pace.
This guy is battling for the lead here. Allowed Dennis Crosby, Rodney Campbell, and Scott Kennedy to close in a couple tenths there. They've closed it now to about a second. These guys, 3 trucks under a row, kind of 2 separate 3-truck packs. If we get the the picture-in-picture, you'll get the top 3, and then the top 4. You can see behind them, or from 4th on back, they're starting to reel these guys in just a little bit. Scott Kennedy and the 03 with Dennis Crosby, the 22, Rodney Campbell, the 62. Yeah, they're closing up here, and this battle for the lead, it doesn't look like Thomas Fisher's really letting Kyle Smith go. Smith's able to get about a 2.5, 3 car length lead, and then that draft, it just pulls Fisher in more, and that allows Jose Ramirez. I'm curious to see what that 75 truck, he might be just saving those tires, waiting for that long run, because that long run you're going to need to pit, and you want to have that long run pace. And the thing about Texas Motor Speedway is you want to stay, who can stay on throttle the longest, that's what's really going to help be the fastest guy on a long run. As you can see, Ramirez on board with the Amazon Chevrolet Silverado, closed up to the back of Fisher, kind of give him an air push, that air bubble, the beach ball effect, and it pushes the guy just a little bit ahead. You got to break that bubble if you want to get by here. Right now, those 3 trucks under a blanket, Kennedy and Dennis Crosby are kind of battling side by side. Now Crosby peeking to the inside of Kennedy for 4th.
Yeah, something we really haven't talked too much about is when these guys were battling for the lead, that allowed that second group to really catch up and catch that draft. And that's such a weird thing about the trucks and a lot of these 1.5 milers is that you have to spend a lot of time working with your competition. You have to decide, is it worth? Thomas Fisher and they feel like, okay, I can maybe make a move on Kyle. But if you're not able to make that move, or if you battle too long, that's just going to pull everybody else from that second pack up to this front pack, and you don't want that. I mean, if I can battle 2 guys for the win, that's what I'd rather do versus 6. So, sometimes in these type of races, you really have to work together with your competition and give you better odds of wins at the end.
Yeah, it's better to battle 2 guys than it is to battle 6 guys. Is right now Fisher looking to go back on the attack here, just closing up about 2/10. He's just like you said. I think he's by this time. We're 17 laps into this 100-lap race. No point to really pushing here. I mean, it's. And honestly, I think he's maybe the only reason he's starting to push, he's starting to feel the pressure from the 75 of Ramirez, as you can see on board with the 55. Fisher closes right up to the back bumper, and now he just goes down the inside, gets some clean air. This time he'll pull side by side. We'll be able to side draft him down this front stretch, get by the 92 down to the inside of the 55. Ramirez waiting in the rings just in case these 2 get together, can go scoot on by, but Fisher backs out. It's so hard to be on the inside of somebody here in 1 and 2. We talk about the aerodynamics of these trucks, an iRacing update recently to these trucks, new damage model, but also updated aerodynamics. And if you get underneath somebody, you get very aero loose. All that side force goes off these trucks. You'll get either really tight or get really loose. And the last thing you want to do is spin out yourself and then take the guy on your outside with you.
Yeah, and Kyle Smith very confident in that truck, that 55 Toyota, looking really strong. He opened the door and said, hey, go ahead. If you want to go down there and try to make this pass, good luck. And Thomas Fisher gave it a shot, but the run that Kyle Smith got off the corner just way too good and not able to do it. I think 3 and 4 trying to pass on the bottom is going to be really tough. 1 and 2 maybe where you have to make your move. So just a lot more off throttle time in turns 1 and 2 versus 3 and 4. You can really mat the throttle and get up there. But look at Scott Kennedy in that 03 machine. He's got the draft. They're there. So that little second 3 pack there, or second pack of 3, it finally caught up. But Scott Kennedy looks like his truck is running really good. It's really reflective. It's kind of blinding me. You see the sunset in that full chrome 03 machine. Get a sponsor on that. That's what I say. Somebody sponsor this fella. But right now he's looking really good up in that 4th position.
Yeah, he's really starting to roll so far faster than Jose Ramirez and a little bit faster than Kyle. So this time, second fastest truck on the racetrack. Top 5 or I should say the top 4 really trading lap times. I know Dennis Crosby got a little bit loose in 1 and 2 and kind of hurt his lap time there. But these 5 guys have pulled away from Rodney Campbell in the 62. Campbell's lost touch, lost a little bit of draft there. He's about 7/10 of a second behind Crosby, but right now he's really losing time. As so far looks like the 200 Tim Collier got by Pierre Robitaille here for the 10th position, so he goes in. And how about this, the onboard with Ronnie Campbell? I love that. Another new feature on V-Speed, showing guys their view and what they're doing, and this is what we're doing. Sim racing, this is what it looks like on board here with Rodney Campbell, and you get his onboard, get his perspective of what he's seeing.
He got super tight, and that right front is on fire, and he got really close to that wall, but did a great job of keeping it off the wall. As you could see, I watched him in practice. That he's got a lot of force feedback on that thing. If you watch him go down in turn number 1, watch his arms going back and forth as he hits those bumps, go down into 1 and 2. He's fighting it. You could see just how much that truck is really fighting him on those front tires. And so
they're fighting their trucks. Kyle Smith has lost the lead. He's lost second place, I think, last lap. Just got a little loose there off of 1. Wasn't able to carry the momentum. Lost his momentum there. You see there, clips the apron, lose more momentum. And Thomas Fisher back to the lead. Ramirez goes up to second. I'll tell you what, Scott Kennedy also up right on these guys, up in 4th here. But Smith loses that clean air, goes to 3rd. Now Kennedy's going to be breathing down his neck. Crosby's right there in the mix as well. And like you said, Campbell fighting the conditions of that truck, really starting to slip and slide around. But I'll tell you what, Ramirez has been pressuring Thomas Fisher this entire run. Ever since Fisher lost the lead at the beginning of this race, Ramirez has kind of been on his back tailgate there. But this time, loses a little bit in turn 3. And as these tires start to wear, I'm starting to think that dirty air is getting worse and worse behind another truck. And now Kyle Smith closes up to the back of Ramirez here going into turn 1. Smith gets right to the back bumper, but just can't get into the throttle. Loses the nose there. Ramirez will pull away here off of turn 2. And what I'm noticing here, Ramirez seems to back up the corner, and then he gets onto the gas sooner and carries that momentum, especially in the draft, to get closer to Fisher. But Fisher doing a great job taking that air away.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, his 1 and 2 is what's keeping him up front, and you see just carrying that speed all the way, like I said earlier, all the way into turn 1, that speed's going to be there. It's a way to set up a pass for sure. We'll actually go into the picture-in-picture while we're watching this battle and show how Kyle lost the lead here as he gets tight off the corner.
Ooh, yeah.
And able just to drive right by him, almost 3 wide. But that's how Thomas Fisher able to get the lead there from Kyle Smith.
Yeah, that just shows how much momentum matters here. And you can see Fisher lost that momentum and loses 2 positions, but this time gets some momentum back around on the outside of Ramirez. Fisher goes to block the 75, but forgets that the 55's to the outside. Ramirez going to be in a vulnerable position going into turn 1. 92 takes that line away, but here comes Smith on the outside. He just can't hold it. Now they're going to be side by side off of turn 2, but Ramirez able to hold on to the position in second. Smith has to back off. Kennedy right in the mix as well with Crosby, not too far away from these guys either.
Yeah, you know, Ramirez is really showing me a lot here as he actually gets into the apron a little bit. It's going to bounce him up the track, able to hang on to it. But Ramirez is being very, very patient. I've seen him get 2 or 3 runs. He easily could have tried to make a move for the lead, but he is being extremely patient behind Thomas Fisher. I think 75 may be the best truck on the track. And I think he's just taking his time and taking it easy and not trying to push the issue, because as soon as he tries to pass Thomas, Kyle and Scott are going to be right on top of him. So, I've got my eye on Ramirez. I think he may be the one to watch here at the end, because he seems to have the long run speed and the patience that it requires to win a race like this.
Yeah, about 29 laps on the Goodyear Racing Eagles, closing up to 30. A very long run, like I said earlier in the show. You had a green flag to flag, no caution preseason race at Charlotte. This race so far going about the same, but this time you got 4 trucks under a blanket here at Texas Motor Speedway. This is what you think when you see truck racing. Is here comes Ramirez looking to the outside, gets some clean air to the nose, almost got into the right rear quarter panel of the 92 truck. He'll carry the momentum. He'll try to side draft down the front stretch. Ramirez now looks to the outside of Fisher, and there comes Kyle Smith closing up on the battle as well. Ramirez can't do it. Smith almost gets into the quarter panel, and this time Fisher holds on, but Ramirez mounting another run off of turn number 2. Oh, it's going to get tight.
Oh, my goodness. I'm so impressed by his, his cojones to go up to the top side, especially in 1 and 2, almost able to get up there. You know, there's something about getting that spotter call that's so important. If you can get up there and get the spotter inside the guy in front of you's car to go car outside, car inside, he has to think about his line. He has to think about it. And if you can just get that spotter call, sometimes you can throw the guy off his line. And I think that's what Ramirez was trying to do, just throw him off a little bit. But we saw that the top side in 1 and 2 just not going to happen. You're going to have to do it in 3 and 4 if you want to work the top. And he's got a big run here. What's he going to do?
Yes.
They're going to do a little crossover, a little yin and yang, and they go into turn 3, and I think Thomas had it covered there in turn 3 and 4.
He did. Takes his line away going into the 1. I think it kind of made Ramirez have to back off. Now you got behind them Kyle Smith, Scott Kennedy going at it. Kennedy backs off of the throttle, lets Kyle Smith hold the position here. Green flag pit stops are going to be very important from what I'm noticing. You got 4 guys under a blanket. When do these guys want to pit? When is that right time here as Kennedy drifts up the racetrack here, almost gets to the outside wall, and these top 4 have kind of pulled Dennis Crosby about a second now. He's kind of lost touch with these top 4, but I'll tell you what, man, these top 4 are absolutely putting on a show. It looks like Fisher taps the apron there. This allows Ramirez another charge here. He'll go to the outside. Can he pin him down?
Yeah, I just don't think the entry to 1 and 2 is going to work on the top side, but he is trying to get a run off the corner. Yeah, he did a great job there. Let's see if he can make it. He's going to go to the outside again. That is scary, man. What a move by Ramirez. Going to the outside. I think he's going to make it work this time.
I think they might have made a little contact down the backstretch, but is Ramirez running a little too high? Fisher drops up off the apron, almost gets into the 75. The 75 now crossover down the front stretch. The 92 puts him into the grass. He'll have to back out of it, and Fisher holds on to the lead going to turn 1. But Ramirez just seeming to have a little more turn in that nose and getting the runs out the corners, using that draft. But Fisher holding on to that clean air for dear life as Kyle Smith and Scott Kennedy begin to drift away a little bit.
Wow, what incredible battles a third of the way through this race, and these guys are racing like it's the last lap. I'm telling you, Ramirez has got the speed and what he needs to get it done, but Fisher, knowing how important clean air is, he is not making it easy.
See, Ramirez looked to fake to the inside. He can't get the run here. Now, I look at that the difference of lines. He gets a much wider arc, and he tries to set up that run for the exit, and it seems to be working with how much draft he's getting down this backstretch. Fisher just struggling with the handling of that truck. Can't get to the throttle quicker than the 75 of Ramirez, but Ramirez just can't seem to find a way to get around him. And I'll tell you what, Fisher is fighting the back end of that truck. He is getting really loose, and I think that's why he's struggling to get on throttle. It's a nice run here for Ramirez. Ramirez will go to the outside. Does he want to get on that quarter panel and maybe have the 92 lose that side force and he can go by? But right now, Fisher really loose on board. Now, what does Ramirez do? He'll go to the inside. Fisher might not have anything to do or cover for this one. Ramirez down to the inside. Fisher tries to hold him down, but it's Ramirez that goes to the lead, and now Smith looks for second.
I mean, like I said earlier, Ramirez with the patience to wait on the right opportunity, and the right opportunity presented itself there, and he took advantage of it. And I think that 75 is going to be gone, as now we got a battle for second place.
Got to get into the 92.
Wow, what incredible racing here in the Champion Motorsports Truck Series. I mean, just incredible first race so far. These guys are putting on a show. I think they might be getting paid. I don't know. They're racing like there's money on the line. So I don't know. It's really impressive how good these guys are driving.
Yeah, who says you need only 17 trucks to put on a good show? As Ramirez now opens up to about a half a second lead. And Ramirez is honestly, he's rooting for Kyle Smith to get by him, hold him up a little bit. And Scott Kennedy, he's been right there waiting for these guys to make a mistake. When does he bounce? Oh, he gets hit. Kennedy saves it, a little contact from the 91 of Warren McGarry there. They save it. But that's going to cost Kennedy a little bit of time, as for seventh, John Taylor Tammy gets by the 216 of Anthony James, and Stephen Knight is another good battle on the racetrack here for the seventh position. These guys going at it as this lead is beginning to calm down a little bit, as Ramirez has the clean air pulling away. That in and out 97 Chevy Silverado pulling away from the Ford, the Ford F-150, the steel car, that truck. That's nice, orange and white. And then you got the Toyota Tundra of the 16 of Stephen Knight, and then Tim Collier in that Goodwrench Chevrolet Silverado. He's closing up as Kyle Smith and Fisher going at it here for second. Fisher pinned down on the inside. This is going to allow Kyle Smith to use that outside lane and get by here.
Yeah, really impressed with these guys. Yeah, working this top side, I just wouldn't expect it to work as good, but I think Thomas, who got out there early here at the tail end of this run, has really struggled to keep that truck going. It just seems like he's getting really loose off the corner. It's loose, tight. He's just kind of fighting all of the conditions, and so I think his tires are just toast at this point. I mean, just great battles. We go back to this little battle here between Anthony James, Stephen C. Knight. Stephen C. Knight, one of your biggest movers of the race right here in that 16 truck. He has moved up 5 spots from where he started. Started 14th, now currently inside the top 10. They're going at it. Here comes
Collier.
Yeah, Collier tried to make a move. The backside of it thinks better of it. But these guys on the move, that 216 of Anthony James, he is kind of falling back a little bit. He's dropped 4 spots from the drop of the green flag. So Anthony James going the wrong way, but these other guys around him moving forward. So we get close to that pit stop. So we don't really know what the fuel run is. We're going to all find out together. But if you can make it to lap 50, that's what you want to do. I think if that's right. And if you can make it longer.
Kyle Smith is pitting here. So maybe this doesn't mean you can go one stop. Maybe this is a 2-stop race. Going to try the undercut here on Jose Ramirez. So Kyle Smith, the first truck to bring it down to pit road. But we'll go back to that battle for 7th. We want to get the picture-in-picture as Stevenson Knight, he just hasn't been able to get around Anthony James in the 86, and then Tim Collier's looks like he has just a little more speed, but he just doesn't have enough of a run to kind of get by these guys. And these guys still battling side by side between James and Knight. Knight on the inside, James on the outside of the orange and white Ford F-150, and it looks like finally Stephen Knight in the 16 gets by, but that allows Collier to close up in the 200 on the inside now, going into turn number 1, as I believe this means that Kyle Smith just exiting pit road. He'll be right behind these guys when they get off of turn 2. You'll see Smith on the apron. Now he'll have fresh tires. We'll really get to see the difference between fresh tires and 44-lap old tires.
Yeah, and I mean, it's going to be a big difference. I mean, they're about a second and a half faster on new tires, as you see on the picture-in-picture. Just the difference. You see the speed difference there off the corner. So a second and a half is what it's going to give you with brand new tires. But these guys are, I mean, these guys are battling, though. It's going to be tough. I mean, they're not going to just move over and let you go. They're not required to do that. As much as Kyle would like for them to, that he has to be careful and be smart about how he gets through here.
It just shows you gets the 3-for-1 special in one corner. I'll tell you what, Scott Kennedy was able to get by Thomas Fisher for what is second on the racetrack currently. And Kennedy's with at the second, but these guys 3 seconds behind Jose Ramirez, as Ramirez has pulled out quite a wide margin. But it seemed like Kyle Smith was the only other truck that can kind of run with him. But Smith on fresh tires right now he's moving right now as Ramirez trying to get by the lap truck of, I believe that's the 91 of Warren McGarry, and he'll get by. But Miguel Collins brought it down as well. He pitted about 4 laps ago, but everybody else, 46-lap old tires. When will these guys be able to pit? How long can these guys stretch it is the question, because if Kyle Smith brought it in very early, can he make it on fuel to the end? And, if Ramirez pits 4 or 5 laps later, he has 4 or 5 laps more fuel left in that 75.
Yeah, it's hard to say. I mean, if they could make it about 55, 56 laps on fuel, then, Kyle actually doing a really good strategy, was in striking distance of Ramirez, felt like he was losing ground to him. Come on, do the undercut and see if you can get out ahead of him, get out front, and really, get some distance between you and him. As right now, I mean, Jose is running 31.5s, where Kyle Smith running 30.1s. So the difference is massive. As far as times go. So the longer that Ramirez stays out here and Kyle's on those fresh tires, he's definitely going to jump ahead of him. The question is just how far is Ramirez going to go? Right now, Kyle Smith is in the lucky dog position, so he's clear as far as cautions coming out.
Well, he's not in the lucky dog position because, remember, there is no lucky dogs, as I believe.
Oh, that's a good point.
Has brought it in. Rodney Campbell brought it in. Thomas Fisher lost another position to Crosby there. He's fallen back to 4th. He'll bring it in. This makes you think 48 laps on the tires. Do they have to save fuel to make it to the end? We don't know. As Ramirez continues to run laps, and like you said, Kyle Smith, he was a second faster per lap than Ramirez. So how much is this going to affect him as Ramirez, I believe, bringing it down to pit road to get service to the 75 Chevy Silverado, and he'll bring it in. Don't want to speed here, and nice and easy into pit road he goes. So that'll hand over the lead. Oh, Scott Kennedy around into the pits, into the inside wall goes the 03.
Oh, wow. Well, no caution. We stayed green, but Scott Kennedy locks him up trying to get down on pit road, and that's not going to help him at all. We'll go back. We'll go back and check that on the replay real quick.
Let's see if we get an instant replay here. V-Speed 2 instant replay here is going into pit road here. It looks like, I don't know if that's a downshift gone wrong there. Just hear the wheels kind of chirping there, and he just gets loose into the inside wall. And curious to see how much damage he got on that 03 truck, as Doug Betts had also brought it into pit road. But we'll go back to a live shot here as JT Tammy is now bringing it into pit road. He went 50 laps, so I'm going to assume you can make it 50 laps. So what does this do for Kyle Smith, who has taken the lead of the race and is 7.5 seconds ahead of Jose Ramirez, who is just leaving his box? But Ramirez will have 7-lap fresher tires. Will he be able to make the gain back up on him? Although Kyle Smith has the draft, and it makes you think, if they cannot make it on fuel the next run, is Kyle Smith playing the right strategy here, pitting early, undercutting, and getting that time made?
Yeah, I mean, that's really the question is how far can they make it on fuel? Because, I mean, right now Kyle Smith is 8.4 seconds. I mean, Ramirez still has the winning strategy because I mean, when you lead by some odd seconds, you're able to stay out really as long as you want because you know you've got the cushion that you need. So it'll just depend on whether or not Kyle Smith can make it. How can he manage the tires moving forward here? Because while Ramirez has got better tires at the moment, and he's going to be about a half a second faster each lap. He's still got to make up 8 seconds. He's going to be able to make it up, but he's got to run really hard. Now, a lot of times people get in these situations where they go, oh gosh, I'm 8 seconds back, and they don't think about the tire difference, and they run their truck or car too hard trying to catch up, and then they burn their stuff up at the end. So I think Ramirez had the right strategy at the first part of the race. If he continues that, I think he'll catch Kyle without much issue, but it's going to be a long and grueling process for Jose.
Yeah, I think if you're Ramirez, do you save your tires? Do you want to save? You know you had the long run truck, but is it going to be enough to run him down in the second part of the run? Right now, the trading lap times, Ramirez about a 0.3 of a second difference here, faster. And I think the thing for Kyle Smith is Kyle Smith's got some draft. He's got some trucks ahead of him where Ramirez does not. Ramirez does not have one truck ahead of him. It's a full 7.5 seconds to get to Kyle Smith's battle for fourth here. So how about Stephen Knight making his way up through the field, battling Miguel Colon up in the 87 car, although Miguel a little bit older tires here, about 6 laps older, so that'll give Knight the position into turn number 1, and then behind them Collier was able to get up to 6th, and Dennis Crosby kind of fell back, didn't have a great pit stop, 16.5 seconds in the box, 2 seconds slower than Tim Collier, and right now I think it's lost him some valuable track position in that 22 truck.
Yeah, you know, I'm wondering if Stephen Knight is not kicking himself for qualifying a little bit better because he obviously has the speed that it takes to win this race. They get a caution. I'm looking at this 16 truck because he has made up 10 spots from where he started. He's on the similar tire stint as the guys in front of him. So, I mean, right now, Stephen Knight, probably one of the fastest trucks on the track, and he's made up a ton of spots. So, if we get a caution, I think right now he's about 12.8 seconds back from the leader, Kyle Smith. But, I think if we get a caution, you got to be watching the 16 truck.
I think he definitely becomes a player. He's been turning some pretty decent lap times here. So far, he did pit 2 laps later than Thomas Fisher in the 92, but Fisher is, unfortunately, 4.1 seconds behind Jose Ramirez in the 75. And right now, Ramirez, continue to be 3 to 4 tenths faster. So at the end of this run, he's only got 6 laps on the tires. Kyle Smith, 14 laps on the tires, and it seemed like Smith kind of fell off as the run went on. So what will this do maybe 10, 15, 20 laps down the road? Does Ramirez, once he gets a sniff of that draft, I think it'll be a quicker closing rate than I think Kyle Smith's hoping for.
Yeah, I think so. In iRacing, the way the tire model works is it's not a gradual loss of lap time, especially in the truck series, because just how that right front is going to operate through the tire life, as it's sort of a cliff. It drops off cliffs. So you run around 0, 1s, 2s, and then all of a sudden you drop down to 5s, then you drop down to 8s, and then you're in the 31 second bracket, and it just drops off cliffs. And so you plateau, you drop off a cliff, plateau. So there's going to be a point where Kyle Smith's going to lose a ton more time to Ramirez, and he's going to be able to. He's already caught, run him down to about 6 seconds. So,
yeah, a little contact in the front stretch with Rodney Campbell, got up into the outside wall. They're battling with JT Tammy and the 216 of Anthony James. These guys going at it for inside the top 10, 9th, 10th, and 11th here as we got the driver cam of Rodney Campbell going down to the inside here of the 97 of JT Tammy, and he'll get that position to move Campbell up into the top 10 here behind Anthony James. They all 3 pitted with, as well as Collier, all pitted about the same time here. So, Scott Kennedy, after spinning on pit road, he pit the same lap as Anthony James, Rodney Campbell. But these guys also got to worry because I'll tell you what, Kyle Smith, he's fast. He's put the 91 a lap down, but it looks like Kyle Smith's only about half a straightaway behind these guys. So, and what will that do for Kyle Smith if he runs into these guys with traffic?
Yeah, I mean, he's already on the back foot trying to just manage these tires and get to the end. If he can make it on fuel, that's a question that we talked about already that's still there. We just don't know if he can make it on the fuel. I mean, he's already 18 laps into the stint, so we'll find out. But yeah, he doesn't need to have any kind of checkups at all. I mean, he's already fighting against Father Time as Ramirez already 5.6 seconds now. So slowly continuing to close in on that 55 truck. Now, something I do want to talk about. We were watching Rodney Campbell. A fun little thing they're doing in this league that I think is really cool is they're having a over 50 battle.
Oh, yes, yes.
Yeah, so interesting. These guys, knowing that these young whippersnappers get in here and get with their little young reflexes and get in here and race, and so they're having a little a battle of the 50 plus. So you got Steve Knight, you got let's see, Kevin Torres, which he's not here tonight. Warren McGarry. Let's see, Tim Collier.
Yeah, Jay Daggett as well.
Rodney Campbell. Yeah, David Anderson. So those guys battling not just for race wins, but for the ability to maybe win an over 50 champion. So
hey, why not? Yeah, and I believe Mr. Campbell is in that as well as the leader of that group. If I'm looking here correct, I believe right now is Stephen Knight. So Stephen Knight right now holding the 50 plus category and repping that tonight here, running fourth. And like we said, got a lot of pace in that 16 Toyota Tundra TRD Pro. But right now he's just kind of he's all by himself really. Yeah. 3 seconds behind Fisher, and about 3 seconds ahead of Cologne. So these guys continuing to just this field getting spread out. This battle for the lead will heat up eventually from what I'm looking at. But I'll tell you what, these lap times are closing up. Kyle Smith's starting to put down some good laps here, and Ramirez is starting to kind of fall off a little bit. And like you said earlier on this run, is Ramirez pushing these tires too hard, or is he saving? We know he has a good long run truck. Is he saving those tires, getting them ready for the long run?
Yeah, it's hard to say. I think Kyle's getting ready to drop off that cliff to the mid-31s. He just ran a 31.2. Jose ran a 30.9 last time around. So it's going to change a little bit. Kyle's going to continuously just get worse. So I think Ramirez is going to be able to catch him before the end of this race for sure. There's no doubt in my mind that's going to happen. Just the question of fuel. That's one thing I don't know. It's just, can Kyle make it to the end? I mean, I would imagine you wouldn't pit if you didn't think you could. So he's got to feel like he can. But Ramirez continuously eating into that lead, just 1/10 faster though that last lap. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things that could happen. And I'm pretty impressed with the full, the green flag run that we've had here. No yellows so far. Just a couple, scary events. Contact, little half spin on pit road. But outside of that, it's been very, very clean, hard racing. Between these drivers, especially early on. So really impressed. And so if you didn't start up front, if you're Stephen Knight, if you're a couple of those drivers towards the back half of the top 10, you're probably kicking yourself for not qualifying just a little bit better, because that was going to be what you need to do to win this race.
Yeah, it seemed like the track position was king here today as Kyle Smith continues to add the lead. But that lap traffic that's ahead of him, will that eventually play a role in his way to win the race? And then another thing for Kyle Smith, does he have enough fuel to make it to the end? He pit way earlier than everybody here. He was the first truck to bring it down to pit lane, and unfortunately that might cost him here if he cannot find a way to get back and save that fuel and save what's left in that tank. Here is a battle for fifth going on. Dennis Crosby getting by Miguel Colon, but the 87, he's fighting hard here. He's fighting back and with much older tires. So impressive for that 87. That Toyota Tundra is doing a great job being able to kind of hold in there. But also, don't forget, Scott Kennedy is also right behind this battle. And Kennedy spun on pit road, lost a little bit of time, but we talked about he had a really good long run truck, was well inside the top 5. I think he was running fourth before green flag pit stops. And that truck coming alive once again, trying to get back inside the top 5 here. Gets by the 87 here, and now he'll set his eyes on the 22 of Dennis Crosby and try to get his way back into the top 5.
Yeah, very disappointed Scott Kennedy for sure. I felt like he was right there on the tail end of that lead pack, and just needed a good pit stop, and that's the pressure of it. That's the pressure of races like this where it's green flag racing, not a whole lot of yellows. The pressure of 0 mistakes. We saw Thomas Fisher make a mistake, and Ramirez able to take advantage of that. And that was, that's all it takes. And so here, just the small mistake getting on pit road, and now he's back in 6th position, which is still a good finish if he ends up finishing there. But I felt like he had a little bit more in the tank. that 03 truck was really, really fast.
He did have a little bit, maybe like you said, a little bit more in the tank maybe for the 03. Maybe hoping for a caution flag to come out here as we are well past the halfway mark and now 70 laps complete, 71 now as Kyle Smith passed the line, which leaves us 30 laps to go in this inaugural season opener here for the Champion Motorsports Racing Lead Truck Series here tonight from the Texas Motor Speedway. It's been a good one so far as Kyle Smith continues to hold the lead by about 5.5 seconds over Jose Ramirez, and Stephen Knight has moved up there. I'm not sure if Thomas Fisher might be having a problem. No, well, he actually might be having a problem. Thomas Fisher dropping in and out of the server from what I could tell, and that might move Stephen Knight up to third.
Oh man, the broadcaster curse say something about Thomas Fisher, and looks like he is having some really bad connection issues. So tough night for the 92. But talking about this lead battle, I said for sure that Ramirez would catch the 55 truck, but in the last few laps, Kyle Smith has really equalized, and I gotta say I'm impressed. That Toyota TRD Power seems to be doing exactly what he needs to do, and he's 10th faster that last lap. So Ramirez, actually 3/10 faster, as Ramirez extremely off the pace at this point. So no, I think you're right. I think he might have pushed a little bit too hard, and we'll see if they can make it. Oh, Miguel Colon on pit road, so these guys may not be able to make it.
They might not be able to make it, so maybe that makes you wonder, is Ramirez trying to save fuel? Is he going to try to make it to the end as well? Because looking at the lap times, he's going to have to go 50 laps on this tank of fuel. He pitted right on the cusp of that. Is he going to have enough fuel to make it? And remember, Ramirez was in the draft the first run. They were all together in a bunch of trucks in a line, being able to save gas, lift a little bit more. Don't go full throttle on the straightaways. Ramirez hasn't had anybody in front of him or behind him. He's kind of been all in clean air. Is he trying to save fuel? I think
he is. Yeah, let's listen. I mean, it sounds like he's on the throttle, but he is definitely off the pace, and it doesn't make sense to me. So I think you're right. I think he thinks he can make it on fuel, and he's just taking it easy because he definitely was catching him really quick. And then now that Miguel had to come down pit road, that kind of tells you that Kyle Smith can't make it either. So I think we might see some fuel strategy here.
I think we might hear in a 100-lap race as Smith has lapped all the way up to 10th. He's lapped Pierre Robitaille. He's lapped Alex Maynard. As I believe I see Anthony James now bringing it down pit road. He pitted on the same lap as Jose Ramirez, and he's pitting in for tires and fuel. So does this mean Ramirez can pit?
Yeah, it's going to be close. I mean, if you come down pit road on 49, you've got to be able to make it 50 laps. I mean, so I think if he can just continue to do what he's doing and just watch that fuel meter, maybe he can make it. I mean, if you can make it 49.
Campbell's brought it in. Collier's brought it in. I believe, like I said, Maynard's brought it in. I believe Robitaille is now bringing it in here. Colon's already brought it in, so he's now should be good to the end here to make it on fuel. And now what does this do for Kyle Smith? Does Kyle Smith have to bring it in? I don't think he'll be able to make it on fuel if we're saying that Jose Ramirez has to stay out has to stay out to save fuel. What does that mean for the 55? I think if that's the case, he's going to have to bring it in. And then it's going to be a question is, can he run down the 33? The 75?
Yeah, I mean, this is going to play out really, really awesome. So, I mean, hats off to the admin team who set this up. I mean, this is an interesting end of this race. While it's been really great racing, it's sort of got spread out here after green flag pit stops. And like you said, they're now with people making stops, Smith is lapped up to the 7th position. But we're expecting him to come down pit road at really any time now. But there's no way he can make it on the end. To the
is it worth staying out much more right now? I mean, he continues to lap faster than Ramirez, but you would think you want to give yourself a little bit of time to get tires, to get fuel, and then be 20 laps of full-on just push the truck. Is he going to be able to do that is the question. I mean, if a caution comes out, he's going to be looking good. And unfortunately, half of this field's going to be a lap down. But right now, I mean, as I say that, Pierre Robitaille spinning off of turn number 2, and the caution comes out.
Wow.
That was a commentator's curse, let me tell you.
Yeah, you got him.
First caution of the night, Pierre Robitaille going around off of turn number 2. And this puts Kyle Smith in the catbird seat to get the lead as Robitaille got to be careful back. And, oh, looks like Collier got into the outside wall there. And the first caution of the night with 20 laps to go at the Texas Motor Speedway. Kyle Smith in the lead. But let's get I don't know if we want to get an instant replay and see what happened there to Pierre Robitaille in the 97. It's like going through turns 1 and 2 here. Anthony James on his inside. He gets loose, tries to correct it, and it just goes around and, ooh, right in front of Stephen Knight as well. And remember, we're talking about Stephen Knight. He had a really good truck.
Yeah.
Does he have a chance now?
I think so. I think it's about to get extremely interesting here because as we see Pierre on stopping on the front stretch. Not really sure what's going on. But, everybody down pit road. So anything that Ramirez has, I mean, now it's all thrown out the window. Now you're going to have about 25 laps. None of the pit strategy matters. Now it's how hard can you drive. I mean, we're going to get it all in this race for sure because we had the fun racing at the beginning. Then it started to spread out a little bit. Then we're talking about fuel strategy and pit strategy and mistakes on pit road. And now at the end, we're going to get a shootout to the finish. This is the perfect race so far. Yeah,
we talked about Scott Kennedy. He had an issue in spinning in pit road, lost a bunch of time. Well, guess what? This caution helps him. Yeah, and now as it looks like Kyle Smith out of pit road. And how about I think JT Tammy didn't I think he's staying out here. I think he'll bring it in, although says he's the leader, so interesting to see what will happen here. But staying out so far, he'll bring it in. How about David Anderson in the top 10? It looks like Alex Maynard, Miguel Colon, Tim Collier going to get their wave around here and try to get ahead of leaders. I believe Doug Betts is going to get a lap here back here, so interesting to see what will happen here. Interested to see here. Like I said, Scott Kennedy's back here. 20 is going to be less than 20 laps to go. What changes did these guys make to their trucks to set up? Now you're not going on a long run. You're going on a short run here. What are you going to do to try to make your truck better for this maybe 15, 16 lap shootout here? We saw that these guys were patient, but they were strung together. The sun was still out. The track was a lot hotter when we started this race. Now it's much cooler. So what is this going to do for the racing here? I think it's going to be even more packed out than what we see at the beginning, and it's going to be hard to pull away.
Yeah, I don't think you make any changes. I think at this point, making wholesale changes, maybe some air pressure changes, in pit road when you came down a major stop, maybe pump them up just a little bit. But, at 82 laps, 15 laps is still a good amount of time. If we had 5 laps to go, let's roll. But 15 laps, you're still in sort of tire, minimal conservation, but you still want to be smart about it. So
I think you do, and might I also throw another wrench in this pan. JT Tammy has stayed out on 31-lap-old tires, so an interesting strategy there. We saw tires did wear off a little bit, so how will his tires fare here? Does he pit, or does he just try to get a lap lead, or will he bring it in this time, or does he stay out on this restart? That might be something to look at later, look out on this restart. And we talked about earlier, Thomas Fisher looked like he had the best short-run truck. He got to the lead early, got by the pole sitter Doug Betts. Betts got a penalty, but he was able to hold that lucky dog, he was able to hold that clean air. Well, Betts came in, and then he was battling Ramirez. He was battling Smith, but he was able to have that short-run truck. Well, guess what? He's not in this race anymore. So who does this give the advantage to in this next restart?
Yeah, I think if JT Tommy stays out, there's no doubt in my mind.
He is.
Yeah, he'll be 10th by the second lap under green here. I think maybe what they're hoping for is maybe some quick cautions, some guys making some moves and trying to hold on as long as he can. Is that a waiver round?
Might I heard another development? Doug Betts is on the lead lap, and so going at the start, he was penalized at the beginning. We saw him go 2 laps down. Apparently, it was an iRacing error. So the race control is giving him his laps back that he lost.
Wow. Okay. Well,
so that's interesting. A little wrench in the plants here.
Yeah. So your points leader, who we haven't seen be able to race at all. Yeah.
What does he have to say about this? Although he's going to have to come from about the back of the pack here, as the trucks are double filed, 1 to go. And I love Texas Motor Speedway, that fence lighting up yellow on the front stretch. It's cool, but hopefully we don't get to see it too much. So let's see. Although JT Tammy on the restart here, going to be interesting. That In-N-Out Burger Chevrolet Silverado. We know In-N-Out big on the West Coast, Texas. Pretty big there, big in the western states. Is tell you what, you thought this race is good. Looking forward to next week's race, which I believe is at where we racing at next? You got an idea?
Wilkesboro.
North Wilkesboro. We saw the return this year in the real life racing NASCAR Racing Series. Good race there, won by Kyle Larson. As JT Tammy will lead the leaders back to the green flag action here as the pace truck makes the hard left turn into pit road. JT Tammy, 32 lap older tires. Kyle Smith to his outside into the Geico restart zone. Green flag is out. He doesn't get going. This stacks up the mid part of the field, and we're back underway. What does Ramirez do to the back bumper? Gives Tammy a shot into turn one. Now sticks it 3 wide in the middle.
Yeah, I mean, you could call it a mile away that the 97 tire just going to be shot here. And turns 1 and 2 are a huge, momentum. Somebody's going on.
Trouble. Is that Alex May? No, that's another truck actually around. I believe that is. I'm not really sure who that is. Who is that? That is the Oreo truck. Oh, that's Jacques Richard there around in the 90.
Yeah, wow.
Interesting to see here what happened. So.
Yeah, take a look at it real quick. Get this replay up for you and see what happened there on that restart. I mean, up front they were really tight, but here in the back, had a lot of gaps back here, as you'll see that Oreo truck here on the middle of your screen. And we'll see exactly what happens. It's really hard to say. It just may have been loose on these colder tires. Yeah, just tries to catch loose. It, chases up the track, and just gets loose.
Oh, man, right in front of Doug Betts. Oh, I think Alex Maynard got it up into the outside wall there. So another interesting rule about this league here, a caution coming out in the orange zone is what they call the orange zone. If a caution comes out in the first lap of a restart or start of the race, the next restart will be a single file restart. So this next upcoming restart,
track rules, I like it.
Short track rules, exactly. So Kyle Smith will get the lead here. Will he be at an advantage? And it looks like JT Tammy is going to stay out once again. Is this going to work? I like the track position call. He might be able, if the cautions keep coming out, will he get a top 5? Maybe. And I'll tell you that caution, who that really helped. That helped Tim Collier. That helped Miguel Colon. That helped Alex Maynard, although they didn't, and Rodney Campbell, or I believe, it helped the top 10. Top 10 all back on the lead lap here, especially helping Tim Collier, Miguel Colon, because they did bring it back into pit, or they had to get the waiver on this lap last time. Now they have fresh tires to get back in the fight here. How about Doug Betts as well? Got his laps back after a scoring issue, and now he's in 8th, and he'll be able to restart with the leaders.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot playing out here. If we can get some green flag racing in, now that that Ramirez is able to get around that 97, that's going to change the restart. Let's go look at the replay from Alex Menard's perspective on that wreck and see what he had to deal with.
Let's see, get an onboard here with the 43 truck. Here you see him get in front of you. See him get loose. See the 90 get loose, gets into the wall, gets up into the right side. Damage there. Might have to pull the fenders out on that one. But good job missing that wreck because, I mean, he was staring dead straight ahead of him. Truck on the outside wall, and that time able to miss it here is under pacing. It looks like I think we should be able to get 1 to green here. Like they say, quickie caution. Like I said, man, look at that. I love how Texas Motor Speedway has that fence with the caution yellow on there. I think that's an awesome little thing that sets away Texas Motor Speedway from the rest of the racetracks. Is heck, don't they even have Big Hoss on the backstretch?
Got Big Hoss.
Big Hoss.
It used to be the biggest screen. It used to be the biggest screen, but I think I can't remember. There's another track that took that over. So
is it Charlotte?
I think it might be Charlotte. Yeah.
I think it might be Charlotte. Yeah, Charlotte. I don't know if you've heard, the Las Vegas, they have some ball like this. They're building this globe, and it's going to be a big old screen. So I think that might be the world's largest screen after this. But yeah, I'm sure maybe we get another SMI racetrack. Maybe they'll build an even bigger screen, try to beat that globe in Las Vegas. But
we'll just race on a screen at some point. That would work.
There you go, screen racetrack. I don't know what tires you bring for that, but I think it'd be a good time, right? As like I said, next week North Wilkesboro. We'll go through since we're under caution. We'll go through the schedule here. This week, obviously tonight, the Summer 150 at Texas. Next week, North Wilkesboro. July 28th, Friday night, they'll be at Gateway, so that'll be interesting racing these trucks. And then for the first time, or for the one and only time that this season, we'll go to Mid Ohio race. Actually, next week, you get a little bit of taste of that for the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series. They'll be actually going out to Mid Ohio. So that on August 18th, August 25th will be the Pocono 200, and then September 1st will be Homestead Miami Speedway, another one of these cookie cutter mile and a halfs, and then Daytona, where we know that'll be crazy. Bump drafting, super speedway racing at Daytona, and then the championship night short track racing at Richmond. Pretty much from what I'm seeing, we got a lot of different racetracks, but also different styles of racetracks. A lot of parity in racetracks, super speedways to mile and a halfs, to Pocono, which is a big 2-mile racetrack, to a road course at Mid Ohio, and then Gateway, which is kind of a track of its own.
Yeah, definitely a nice balanced schedule. I think you get pretty much everything that you would want out of a truck season in just 8 races. So, I mean, you got short tracks, like you said, big tracks, I mean, all kinds of disciplines. And so for you to win the championship, you're going to have, you got to be a well-balanced race car driver to be able to win this thing. So got the 1 to green here coming around. I don't know, man. Who you got? I have no idea. I mean, so many different things can happen here. We've got JT Tammy on those old tires, but all these guys hungry behind them. But Kyle Smith, Ramirez have been sort of the class of the field. So, I would expect them to maybe race it out for the win. What do you think?
I mean, I think it's going to be interesting to see Kyle Smith. We know he has a good truck. We know Jose Ramirez had a good truck in the early stages. Does he have anything to say here as we'll have an 11 lap to go? Laps to go on the restart here, as we are 1 to green as the pace truck as they go through 3 and 4. Will they make it back here? Will they go green to the end as the pace truck will make the hard left turn to pit road once again? And Kyle Smith will lead the field into the Geico restart zone. Remember, single file restarts after a caution of the first lap, as into the Geico restart they go. And Kyle Smith goes onto the loud pedal and gets a nice jump, a nice restart over Jose Ramirez, and the field gets spread out behind. What will these guys do to try to get around the 97?
Yeah, they've got to get around them quick. As you see, here comes Scott Kennedy with an amazing run there on that restart. Little door bang. That's good.
Man, shoving him all the way down to the apron goes the 97. Knight has to back out to the outside, but Tammy holds on to that position. Kennedy up into third. Now here comes Knight and Crosby in the 60, trying to also get around the 97, but Tammy holding strong on 30-lap older tires. He'll hold on to the 4th position, as at the front, the leaders starting to heat up. Smith with the lead, on board with Jose Ramirez, closing up to the back bumper of Kyle Smith. Kennedy trying to run them down, but then the battle. Oh, look at these guys fanning out down the backstretch. Tammy now trying to hold off Knight. Knight goes to the inside. He gets into the 97. Tammy spins up the racetrack and into the outside wall, and the caution comes back out of Texas.
Oh, you could feel that coming for a lap and a half there, as while Tammy doing the best that he could to hold on to those positions to get a good finish. The tire difference just so large that he was making some aggressive blocks down the back straightaway, pinching who I think was Stephen Knight down, and Scott Kennedy as well. And so it was just you could see it, almost feel it coming as they were just racing really, really hard, especially at the end of this race.
Yeah, racing, getting aggressive here, the draft. We talked about Tammy being on older tires there. He was doing a great job, at least being able to hold his position up there, but now a wrecked race truck. And honestly, probably some hurt feelings there between the 16 of Stephen Knight. I know those guys were racing really hard. Tammy, like I said, doing a great job holding off everybody, but it comes at a cost. He didn't have the grip in turn 1 and 2. It allowed the 16 and the 22 to get a run, and then right there, he just didn't have enough here. And we'll get it on board here with Knight. Knight had a nice run here, and he wasn't really there going into the corner, but he at least had a nose there, and then Tammy just kind of came down. More of a racing incident where the 16 forcing the issue, and the 97 wasn't willing to give up the position, but unfortunately that's going to end up in an incident in the 97 with a wrecked race truck up into the outside wall. So unfortunate night there for Tammy. So no lucky dogs, and that also leads us to believe, I think that was outside of the orange zone after 1 or 2 laps. So I think we'll go back to double file restarts here.
Yeah, I'm not sure what they'll
I'm
decide
not
to
sure
do.
how that's going to be there.
Yeah.
So, but Kyle Smith was able to hold on. I think Ramirez is going to need a few laps. He's going to need one or two laps to stay with the 55. But, man, these laps are winding down. And remember, no green, white checkers. So we're closing up on the end of this race. This is just a straight 100-lap race. There's no more extra laps that you're going to get. No overtime, no green, white checkered. So this is going to be a straight-out brawl to the end. If a caution comes out with 5 laps to go, we could get a one-lap shootout. But most likely, it's going to be the end of the race.
Yeah, I mean, if you're Ramirez, you can't wait around. That's for sure. And you're right. It's going to take a couple laps for him to get the momentum that he needs to get a run on Kyle Smith. So Kyle Smith, if you got to be feeling pretty good. If you're Kyle, you've got control of the restart. Depending on whether or not single file, double file. If it's single file, you got to feel good about your chances. Double file, it could get a little dicey. So it'll just depend on that right there. Whether or not Kyle's going to have a really nice or easy time or kind of a tough time. So lights are still on the pace truck, so we're going to go at least 2 more laps here under caution.
Yeah, and these laps clicking down, so I think most likely the next flag will end the race, whether it's the checkered or the caution. And so that means Ramirez is going to have even less time to make a move. And it also makes you think, if we get a double file restart, right? Ramirez is going to have to, if he can start on the outside, can't he get a good enough restart and maybe pull even with Kyle Smith going into turn 1 and maybe try to take the air off the 55? And I know it's going to be tight racing there, but I think that's what you're going to have to do. If it's single file, you got to just be on him as much as you can and hope to get a good enough restart. We know single file restarts, the leader has the advantage no matter what. Double file restart, you're on the outside, you at least have a chance of sticking with the leader.
Yeah, to kind of counter my own point. I mean, a single file restart, though, Ramirez can actually maybe try to get a little jump on Kyle Smith versus he can't really do that if he's side by side with him. He'll get black flags. So, I don't know what race control feels about that, but if you hang about half a car length back and try to get a little run, you might be able to get to his bumper before even turn 1. So I could see it go both ways. So I'm not really sure exactly what Ramirez would like or what Kyle Smith would like. But regardless, Kyle's just got to go. He's got to hammer down. He's got to get through the gears. He's got to get down to the bottom, get on the gas in turn 1 and 2, try to set sail and get that clean air and take it full advantage of that.
Oh, yeah, double file restarts. So there it is. This is going to allow Ramirez. Can he get a good enough restart to hold him down and maybe just pull even? And what does this do for the guys behind, like Stephen Knight? Scott Kennedy in the 03, we saw Kennedy have a blinding restart that last time and get some spots. And then you got the 87 of Miguel Colon. Then you got Dennis Crosby, Doug Betts. What is anybody going to try to make a charge here? If these guys stall each other out for the lead, racing for the lead, or get into each other, somebody in that second row can take advantage and get by them. And what are we going to have here? We're going to have a 6-lap restart or 6-lap shootout here to the end if we go green. If a caution comes out the lap of the restart, they will go single file, but it'll also leave us, I believe, a 2-lap shootout to decide the winner of the inaugural Champion Motorsports Truck Racing League. As, man, what a race it's been. Went green the first 80 laps and then got a little wild, a little crazy here so far at the end of it. And it's going to be an interesting restart as they'll come into the Geico restart zones through turns 3 and 4. Man, I'll tell you what, Eddie, it's going to be wild.
If we stay green to the end of this thing, it's going to be a ridiculous race. That's the thing.
Is.
If a caution comes out, it's going to kind of put a hamper on it. But if we go green, this is about to get wild.
Yes, it is. As the pace truck pulls off the field in the hands of Kyle Smith and Jose Ramirez into the Geico restart zone, they go green. Smith gets a great jump. Ramirez spins the tires, stays even, but here comes Scott Kennedy in the 03. A push to the 75. Kyle Smith hoping these guys go side by side.
Scott Kennedy with another fantastic restart. He did exactly what he did last time. Amazing job by him. He's going to clear Ramirez off the corners or give him second place. Can he get up there to Kyle? He's trying to block Ramirez, who tries to get a run down on the inside. Not quite able to do it. But here he goes. He's got a run on Kyle Smith here.
Kennedy, big run off of turn 4 in the draft of the 55. Looks high, looks back low. Smith tries to cover. He will. Going into turn number 1, Smith holds on to the lead. But here comes Kennedy closing in behind. Ramirez right behind them as well. Now Ramirez with the run. He'll look underneath Kennedy for second. Knight and Crosby running him down, but Smith pulls away by a half a car length.
Yeah, Scott Kennedy needed to make that move. He couldn't lift or wait because as soon as he lifted, Ramirez was right back on him, and now he is battling, fighting for his life. He had that one shot and wasn't able to take. Eminem says if you have one shot, one opportunity, you got to take it, and he wasn't able to do it. Now he's side by side for second, but they're both keeping up with Kyle Smith here, side by side here at Texas.
Yes, they are. Now, race official, if a caution comes out, Ramirez side by side, guys scattering down the backstretch, drivers into the outside wall. Doug Betts is in the wall, but they save it. Everybody keeps it green. Ramirez still side by side with Scott Kennedy, but Kyle Smith doing a great job controlling this race. Contact for second. Ramirez into the side of Scott Kennedy. Kennedy fighting hard on the outside. He just doesn't have enough. Can Ramirez clear off a turn two? He will. Does he mount a charge at Kyle Smith?
Yeah, man, Kyle Smith was loving that, and then how quickly love turns to just despair as now Ramirez has the position and now can set his sights. But I think it's the same thing with Scott Kennedy. You had the chance there to take them and make the move and get that lead.
Oh, he's got a good run.
Yeah, you got to take it. If you're Ramirez, you got to take the run. You cannot lift. If you lift, you're going to be in sixth place. It's just the way that it is at this moment. 2 laps to go here.
And then he misses the corner. A lap and a half to go. Smith snaking down the backstretch. Kennedy loses the nose. Falls back to the clutches of Stephen Knight and Crosby. Ramirez looks to the inside. Smith tries to cover. Ramirez hits the apron. White flag in the air. One more lap to go in the Champions Racing League. Can Smith hold off Ramirez?
One more time. He's only got one opportunity. He keeps lifting. What a jump. He's gonna lose the top speed there. That was his opportunity, but here comes Scott Kennedy as he comes down the back straightaway. Scott Kennedy gonna try to he's blocking.
Into turn 3 for the final time. Kennedy side by side with Ramirez. They make contact for second, but it's all behind Kyle Smith. Off of turn 4, Kyle Smith is going to see the checkered flag, and Smith wins at Texas as they wreck across the line. Knight into the outside wall hard. Ramirez gets spun around, and I believe another truck involved as well as Ramirez in the outside wall, and I believe Dennis Crosby was involved as well. A big wreck ending the race, but Kyle Smith is your winner in the inaugural Champions Racing League here at Texas Motor Speedway.
I'm telling you what, that's something right there. My goodness.
It's good racing there.
Man.
That is what the truck racing is all about. Exciting at the line, and man, what a race we saw. How about Kyle Smith trying to hold off all those guys side by side battling with each other. And on the front stretch, the 55 will go. As Scott Kennedy, I believe maybe... look at all these guys congratulating him. I believe Scott Kennedy teammates with the 55, but how about Kyle Smith in the 55 doing some burnouts here on the front stretch in the Lone Star State. What a race we saw here tonight from the Texas Motor Speedway from start to finish. Racing was great as well. Let's get a replay of that final lap or even that final lap wreck as on board with the 87 of Miguel Colon, who got 4th. Looks like Knight got the grass there, slid up into the 75 of Ramirez, spun him out into the outside wall, and then, what a hit on the inside from Dennis Crosby. And I want to get an onboard maybe with the 16 there that last time. Man, that was some good racing at the end, that final lap. And it just seemed going into turn 1, if Ramirez was able to get to that inside lane, and maybe miss, or have Kyle Smith miss the corner, I think he might have had a chance there. But man, what great racing we saw here from Texas Motor Speedway. Gosh, that was electric racing right there. That side by side battling to the line. You can see, man, a hard hit from Stephen Knight there. But man, these guys, you could tell they were going for broke here for the win here. I mean, it doesn't get better than this. Winning that inaugural race, there's nothing like it. How about Kyle Smith here? As I believe we may have our top 3 in here. I don't know if I could pull him down or not. I think I can. Let's see if we get Scott Kennedy. Do you want to maybe interview Scott Kennedy here, Eddie?
Let's take it. That's your second place finisher, Scott Kennedy, as we get him in here.
Let's see. I don't know if I can get him on the stage here. Let's see what I could do. So anyway, I don't know if you could do it yourself, Scott, if you could join us on the stage here. I don't know.
tell you what, let's take a quick commercial break, and we'll see if we can get everybody in here. Yeah, and we'll see if we can get everybody in here, and we'll talk to them. I'm excited to talk to them about this. So let's see.
Yeah.
Let's go to commercial real quick. We'll be right back.
Contact there entering turn 1.
Around goes the 9. Oh, he comes back up the track and he gets clobbered. Science pitching up into the air.
We're back for some interviews tonight, as looks like we have Ramirez, third place finisher in chat. Ramirez, you got us in the booth?
Let's see.
I think we might have to talk them into it. We apologize, guys. We've honestly never dealt with the little live broadcast. We're going to get invite him to speak. Ramirez, you got a copy?
I got you. You got me?
We got you. Sorry about that. That is
awesome.
Our fault. Man, what a fantastic race. We had a blast calling that. Early on, you started out. You started in the sixth position, able to work your way up towards the front. And then it seems like on that long run, you just had the long run speed that the other guys didn't have, and able to get the lead, get a 3-second lead, and through that pit cycle was trying to run down Kyle Smith. Talk a little bit about that, what you were trying to do early on, and then in that pit cycle, what your thoughts were as you come out 6 seconds plus back from Kyle Smith.
Yeah, at the beginning of the run, I knew that I had to save tires for the end because just the fall off was so much that I knew it was going to be a tough truck to handle at the end. So I pretty much started slow, tried to stay in the top 5, and I knew that just staying with the guys up front, I might be able to do that. So as the run came and I started passing cars and got the lead and then just started to pull away, I was a little bit surprised about that. So I tried to save even more tires, trying to, split the race in half. The fuel was enough for it. So I tried to do that, but I was short a couple laps. So after going out in the pits, going back for the second run, so I knew I had to save fuel. So I was trying to run him down, but I knew he entered like 7 laps earlier. So he definitely had to pit again. So I was just hoping that the race will go all the way green to the end, and I would just save fuel and maybe just get the win that way.
Well, you had that late race caution, and you had to battle with some old tires. You were able to get around them and kind of set your sights on Kyle. You had a run there with just a few laps to go, but had to lift. What did you need to do? What would you wish you would have done differently there as you got to run on Kyle Smith to try to take that win away?
Yeah, I just needed a little bit better front grip there at T1 at the enter. And I might be able to stick it right there, but not enough grip at the front, and I just had to lift it. If not, I was just gonna wreck ourselves and Kyle, and it was gonna be a mess. So yeah, it was a good battle with him. Also, whoever finished second, I think, is Scott. We had a good battle there. I didn't know he was gonna have that huge of a run on the backstretch, like on the last lap. So it definitely caught me off guard. But yeah, it was a cool way to race here. Great racing for the first race here.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, started 6th, led 14 laps. I mean, you had a pretty dang good race and then a great battle at the end. I mean, it could have gone so many different ways, just the way the runs work. But able to come away with a 3rd place finish in the first race of the season. Man, just congratulations. What a great job. Great race. You put on a show, and that's what we love up here for sure. And so a lot of fun. But, man, who helps you get around this place? What sponsors, shout-outs, friends, family do you have to shout out here at the end?
Yeah. Thank you. And it was a great race overall. I guess just a shout out to my team, TPRT. So they were taking it with in the stream and just watching the race. So that was a fun one. So yeah, it was a great results, at least unexpected for me. I was not expecting to be top 5 or top 3 here. But yeah, it was awesome race.
All right, well, there you have it. 3rd place, Ramirez takes home a great finish after a fantastic battle. And so looking forward to talking to you and seeing you race next week.
Thank you.
All right, well, I think Alec is he is caught up with our 2nd place finisher, Scott Kennedy.
I have. Let's see if I'll invite you to speak here. Scott Kennedy, brother, you come home 2nd, had a great run and great race in there with Jose Ramirez. Now, I got to ask you, did you have anything maybe for Kyle Smith in the 55 at the end there?
I don't know. That was a blast, man. I haven't raced oval in years, honestly, and I've been racing some road races with CMS, and they put on such a great show that I had to join this. And I don't know. I was saving tires, saving fuel the whole race, and then those cautions really threw the race into a different. It was a different ball game after that, right? So the track cooling down, tire saving went out the window, and it was all just raw pace and those really short runs between the cautions. So honestly, I didn't know what I had. I thought I had no chance to get Jose, but got a good run there. Coming out of 1 and somehow was able to get inside of him on the last lap. But yeah, I didn't have a chance to even race with Kyle that I know. So I'm not sure, but I'd love to find out with a few more laps.
Well, again, you guys put on a great show, and that was awesome for us to call and watch. And next week, much different racetrack than Texas. Texas, you're more on throttle, lifting a little bit, but next week, going to be using the brake pedal a lot on a short track at North Wilkesboro. How do you feel about going out there next week?
I'll tell you what, I'll put in a lot more practice than I did this week. Like I said, I'm not an oval guy. I'm a road guy, so maybe that'll help me. Being better on the brakes, better, having to really control the car, control the throttle. But yeah, very different race. So it'll be interesting. And I've actually never driven at that track, so I have to put in some extra practice.
Well, it is a fun one, I can tell you. Well, before I let you go here, again, congratulations on the 2nd place finish. Is there anybody you want to give a shout out to here tonight?
Well, I'll say a shout out to my team. I know I don't have them on my car yet. Dog Bear Racing. I'll give a shout out to my wife for taking my kids to the movies tonight, so I had the night to myself. And I'll say thanks to my dog for being quiet when people started running around outside my house. Allowed me to keep focused. So, yeah.
All right. Well, again,
thank you guys.
Well, we appreciate your time, and congratulations on the P2 finish here, and we'll see you next week out at North Wilkesboro.
Yeah, sounds good. Thanks, guys.
There we go.
All right, now we're going to talk to our winner and who drove a fantastic race, Kyle Smith. Eddie in the booth, you got a copy?
Yep, I got you.
Man, what an amazing race! Was up front most of the race, able to race up front with that little lead pack, kind of just hanging around. Jose Ramirez was kind of pulling away from you there towards the end of that first run. Decided to come down pit road and get those tires early and make the undercut. And the undercut worked to perfection as you had a massive lead. Ramirez was trying to save a little bit of fuel, but didn't think he could make it on the end. Were you always going to do a 2-stop strategy there?
Yes, actually, I was. I mean, I was right as I started the race. I was like 48 laps or something like that on fuel, and I was like, I'm not even gonna try to stretch it and save fuel. I'm just gonna go flat out and push for raw pace and try to 2-stop and see if it works. And right when that first caution went out, I was just getting ready to pull down the pit road, and I was like, "Oh my gosh!" And it threw
Yeah.
everything out the window. So it was just about flat out racing. Got to shout out Scott and Ramirez. They were both drove fantastically.
Well, I mean, what were your? I mean, so you're going to make the two-stop strategy. I mean, obviously, you didn't think that somebody could make it on fuel, but you know, uh, there at the end when you've done everything right. You've stayed up front. You made the right pit strategy. And you made the right pit call to get you the lead. And then there at the end, all that goes out the window because now you have to battle all those guys and even guys that have been fighting their way through the field like Stephen Knight, those guys who have really moved up through the field, Miguel Colon, those guys who really weren't a factor at the beginning, but towards the end, now they're fast. Now you've got even more people to fight off, and you got a couple restarts to do it. What's your mentality, especially going into that last restart where you knew I might be in trouble and you really have to defend harder than you have all race?
Honestly, it wasn't even about defending. It was just me hitting my marks, controlling what I can control, not worrying about what the guys are doing behind me. I mean, I was worried about what my truck was doing and not what their trucks were doing near me. I mean, I just had faith in the guys behind me that they wouldn't dump me for a win or something like that, which, I mean, Scott and Ramirez both, they could have easily gave me a bumper in 1 and 2 and just got me out of the groove a little bit and they would have had it, but they didn't. They just lifted a little bit extra and didn't hit me. So I really got to give it out to them guys for racing me cleanly there at the end.
And they definitely did that. So a lot of respect out there. I mean, talk a little bit about that. How does that? How big does respect like that, knowing that they could have dumped you for the win, but they chose not to? When you try to pick a league to have fun and race with other guys, how important is that to have that kind of respect, especially early in the season, as you move through the season, try to win a championship? How important is that type of respect where you give and take, especially here early?
It's huge, so huge. I mean, to have respect amongst the drivers is one huge thing, and that's what I think makes a league. If you have a league that doesn't have respect amongst drivers, then you don't have anything. You just have a wreck fest. But here with CMS, I feel it seems like it. This is my first time ever racing with them, and it feels like these guys are a well knit group and everything. And it seemed very respectful racing wise out there. So I had no issues at all, and I look forward to racing the rest of the season with them.
Well, able to get the win tonight. Great calls. The back half of the race was just yours all the way. I mean, just made all the right calls, all the right moves, and that's why you're the winner. So congratulations again on the win. Fantastic race, and honestly, I would have loved to won that race. That's how much fun that was, how competitive it was. So for you to win it, that's a really, really good one, I think. So congratulations. And as always, man, who you got to thank? Any sponsors, shout-outs?
I want to shout out my teams, Reflex Racing, Turn T3 Motorsports, my buddies Dennis and Doug. Doug, he had a super quick truck, but just got unlucky at on the start of the race. I'm just looking forward to running the rest of the season. Thanks to my wife. And yeah, that's about it.
Well, all right, there you have it. Your race winner, Kyle Smith, takes home the win tonight. Congratulations. We'll look forward to talk to you the next week for sure.
Thank you.
All right. Well, Kyle Smith, your winner here tonight here at the Texas Motor Speedway in the inaugural Champions Motorsports Racing Truck Series here. And man, what a great race we were treated to here tonight. It was, man, just awesome racing all around the racetrack. Great racing for the finish there. So again, congrats to Kyle Smith on his win and his win over Scott Kennedy. So we'll take a final look at our results here tonight from the Texas Motor Speedway with Kyle Smith, your winner here tonight, starts second and gets home the win. Scott Kennedy comes home in second. Jose Ramirez comes home third. Miguel Colon comes here in fourth. Stephen Knight comes home in fifth. Dennis Crosby in sixth. JT Tammy in seventh. Good recovery after getting involved in an incident. Tim Collier comes home in eighth. Doug Betts in ninth. And David Anderson rounds out the top 10.
Yeah, Rodney Campbell comes home in 11th. Anthony James in 12th. Alex Maynard, in 13th. Warren McGarry in 14th. Jacques Richard in 15th. Pierre is in 16th. 17th is Thomas Fisher. And 18th, didn't turn a lap, was Martinoski. So,
Yeah, well, I mean, unfortunately, a 17 truck field, and I was told next week we'll have even more. So maybe some more contenders next week at the short track out in Wilkes County, North Carolina, North Wilkesboro. Eddie, your closing thoughts on what you're looking forward to for next week?
Well, I mean, good Lord, how are they going to top this? I'm not really sure. This sets a very, very high bar for what we're to expect here in this series. And, we really didn't know. We talked a little bit about before the race, didn't really know what to expect. How this is going to go with the open setups, how good is the racing going to be? It's a separation, what would happen. And, they put on a show. I mean, gosh, I'm surprised I got to do this for free. Normally you have to pay a ticket to see stuff like this. So, just really impressed with the overall field, how everybody raced. There were some incidents at the end, but that's to be expected. I thought everybody raced with a lot of respect, and it just hard to imagine a much better way to start your season.
Yes, sir, indeed. It was a great racing here tonight from the Texas Motor Speedway here. Congrats to Kyle Smith, the winner of tonight's race here at Texas. Great racing all around. And to end this here tonight, thank you to all of the race sponsors, our broadcast partner with V-Speed. So appreciate Adam Baker, Bradley Cooper, and everybody here at V-Speed that are working to bring you all these different series. So calling the action tonight was myself, Alec Martinez, alongside with Eddie Smith. Thank you all for watching the race here and watching us bring tonight's action here from Texas Motor Speedway. Hopefully all of y'all will stay tuned for all of our social media posts about other racing series and other updates about what we're going to be broadcasting, what we're going to be seeing for our next race. So thank you again to the entire staff from behalf of Adam Baker, Bradley Cooper, myself, Alec Martinez, and Eddie Smith. This is from V-Speed, brought the race to you from V-Speed. So thank you very much, and we'll see you guys next week at North Wilkesboro.